I'm here with Aaron Novello at EXP Con, where he just got off the stage, rocked the stage, standing ovation. And it's really funny because what he talked about is something that he used to make fun of.
What do you think Instagram is for?
Truthfully, I didn't really understand leverage, and I didn't understand that like attention is currency, and I can make up for with leverage what I lack in ability. The digital world allows me to send myself in the digital form to have conversations with thousands, if not millions of people. So it's just a much more levered thing that can scale.
And you've always wanted to be a teacher, right?
Yeah. I didn't like that teachers don't make any money. So I figured out a way to be a teacher and make money. Yeah.
And now you're able to teach thousands of people without physically being in a room with them.
Yeah. So what I mentioned on that stage was that this year we've had about 2 million views on YouTube. So it allows you to teach people from all over the world. Yeah. And 69,000 hours of watch time, which is 7 years of like human life of people watching content. So, I mean, it's a privilege and a pleasure to create it. And the goal is to just add value. Because I think in the end, whoever adds more value wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've always said that you have to become a rockstar salesperson if you're not a great marketer.
That's true.
What in your mind changed for you when you decided, I want to be a rockstar marketer?
Yeah, because somebody told me like, hey, you can make $1 million a year as a rockstar salesperson. You can make $10 million a year as a rockstar marketer. And when I heard that and I started to think about leverage differently, it made sense that with what we were doing with the organization, coaching company, courses online, that I had two choices. One is I could build that business the same way I built the residential resale, which is sitting in a room and telemarketing 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, and that works. Or I could put out content that's valuable that people can watch and then they reach out to me. And what I've learned is that they
attract, convert, deliver.
Attract, convert, deliver. And if you build a garden, bees come to you. Right? So if you add a lot of value and you help a lot of people, they perceive you as a guide and then they'll reach out to you and they want to do business with you.
So what is the best thing for an agent watching this right now to do to get started? If they're a rockstar salesperson and they want to become a marketer like you, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I think first you have to be sold on media. I have to understand what is actually available to me, which is distribution for free, right? I think we perceive our phones as mechanisms for devices that can entertain us and also devices that can help us be more productive. But we don't realize that it's actually distribution. Like I have a TV kind of screen on my phone because right now 10% of all screen time on TVs is actually YouTube. And I have a radio station on my phone, right? So instead of just consuming, recognizing that if you produce content, I can send myself in the digital. It's a form of prospecting. I think in their brains, they don't think about it as prospecting. But what I'm doing is I'm sending myself and Jess into the digital world to have conversations with thousands, if not millions of people. So they can decide if they know, like, and trust me. And if they want to do business with me.
So how do you turn it from passive marketing to aggressive marketing?
I think that has to do with like volume. And we've talked about this, which you're stepping up what you're doing. So frequency equals familiarity.
Shout out to social imprint.
That's what's up. So frequency equals familiarity.
Okay.
And the more somebody can see me, the more familiar they become with me. And I read this stat, which we talk about a lot, is that people touch their phones 150 times a day. And they're on their platforms, maybe like an hour of that, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours of that. So what would increase the probability that you would see me in that time?
Increasing frequency.
Frequency.
Yeah.
So I think people post like once a week or even once a day and they think that's enough. It's not enough. You're upping what you're doing and you're seeing a meaningful increase. I mean, you've jumped like 400% in terms of like attention and followers and things of that nature is frequency. So I do 3 to 4 times a day, 7 days a week short form and 5 times a week long form, which would be on YouTube like an hour.
So if someone's watching this right now and they came from the mindset that you and I used to have, I'm a prospector, I'm a cold caller.
Yeah.
What would you tell them that they should be doing? Because a lot of them are going to be turned off by what you just said. Oh, I don't want to spend that much time because it's taking away from prospecting.
Yeah. I think it's to recognize if it's not worth doing for a decade, it's not worth doing for a day. And I would ask myself this question.
Yeah.
If I keep doing what I'm doing 5, 10, 15 years from now, where does that lead? Do I still have to be standing here and doing it?
You want to be banging on the phone for 15 years and you want leads to come to you.
The second option is if I build an ecosystem of attention, which compounds, by the way, over time, where does that lead? And will I have to still stand there in the office and be on the phone to generate leads. Now, eventually you're going to have to speak to somebody, but if you build a lot of attention, you can pass those leads on to other people and you're really creating leverage.
For everyone.
For everyone. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. If someone wants to reach out to you, what is the best way to connect with you?
Yep, easy, Aaron Novello on YouTube or Aaron Novello on Instagram.
And is there room for more elite builders if someone's watching this and they want to partner with us?
We always have room for elite builders. We're going coast
To coast.
to coast, team. You know how Drake has that saying, I'm in the building and I'm feeling myself? I was feeling myself. The reason why I was feeling myself is I had finally hit a goal that I had set 5 years before that, which was to do 100 transactions in a calendar year. That's kind of like winning the Super Bowl. 75 of those transactions were actually expired listings. So what I said to myself is, I did it this year, way to go. We're gonna do the same thing next year by doing the same thing. I can just what? Maintain. How many people besides me have ever used that dirty word, say maintain? I'm just gonna maintain what I'm doing, yes? Okay, the reason why it's a dirty word is, write this down, a flat line always goes backwards. A flat line always goes backwards. I've seen a lot of agents in 2023 and 2024 maintaining, yes? Doing the same things that they did in previous marketplaces and expecting something different to happen. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Notice the energy in the room? Don't talk about me like that. Yeah? So that's what I did. I'm like, I'm just going to maintain. And this will be great. I'll do 110 this year, 120, right? Well, if you've made a decision to be in business, you've essentially made a decision to constantly and perpetually be adapting and changing to market conditions. That's a fact. Because they never stay the same, right? They're constantly changing. And what I didn't realize at the time was that the marketplace was shifting. And the reason why it was shifting is in 2008, we had a financial collapse meltdown. How many people were selling real estate in 2008 besides me? Okay, good. So some of you guys know what I'm talking about. The rest of you have no idea. It was a legit financial meltdown. We had large financial institutions completely disappear off the planet, right? We had an unbelievable surge in supply. We had 25,000 homes on the market at least in Broward County. 50% of those homes were short sales or foreclosures. Prices coming down 20, 30%. Yeah? Remember that? Well, as a response to that, what the government and the Federal Reserve did is they started to aggressively lower interest rates to try to help the marketplace recover quicker. Yes? How would that help the marketplace recover quicker? Who wants to tell me? If you make the cost of money cheaper, what happens?
More consumers come.
Yes, you increase demand. Yes. So we went from 6.5% in 2008 down to 3.3% by 2012. Let me ask you guys a question. When the marketplace starts to heat up and demand rises dramatically, what happens to the amount of expired listings? I'm sorry, what do?
Decrease.
Oh, decrease dramatically. So there goes my maintaining. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. So I would love to report to you guys that I responded to that very maturely. That I said, hey, you know what? This marketplace is shifting. I think I need to pivot and start doing something different. That is not what I did. Instead, what I did is I threw a little temper tantrum. And for 90 days, I'm banging my head against the wall. Yes? Why? Money has an addictive quality, and because of it, we get addicted to the way that we receive it. So because you made money this way before, guess what? You need another hit. I'm just going to keep going right back to the same thing. Yes? So for 90 days, what I did is I just said, I got to prospect more. I got to talk to more expires. Yeah. You know what I realized? There wasn't enough leads there for me to keep growing. Anybody notice over the last 2 years that there haven't been enough leads in your previous lead sources to keep growing? Yes. Okay.
No.
Yeah, no. Well, he's on to it. Yeah. So I realized this, and for me personally, that was completely unacceptable to me. Okay. How many people besides me have ever got themselves to a place either personally or professionally, maybe in like a relationship, in a personal context, where you said this, whatever this is no longer acceptable to me. And I don't know what the way is, but I'm gonna either find the way or make the way. You know about that, Betty, don't you? Yep. Went through that recently. And that's the state that you need to be in order to make meaningful change. So I didn't know what the way was though, because the only thing I knew was expireds. I heard one time, think about this, write this down if you're taking notes. If you only have one stream of business, you don't have a business. Guess what? Here I am thinking I'm the man doing 100 deals, 75 expires, but they're all from one source. Dude, did I really have a business? Nope. You need multiple legs on a table in order for the table to be sturdy, right? So I did what I normally do when I don't know what the way is I sought out a guide. We are all looking for guides to help us to solve our problems. Yes. Financial problems, health problems, relationship problems, and money problems. So I sought out a guide. I looked for the best coaches, the best trainers, the best mentors, and courses that could teach me about this lead source, because I don't know if you guys are aware of this. We live in heaven's waiting room. You're good, bro. Figure it out. You'll get it. So what I mean by we live in heaven's waiting room, we have the largest elderly population in the country. What's the second largest demographic in the country behind millennials? Louder?
Boomers.
How old are boomers? 65 plus. No disrespect to anybody in the room who might be in that age bracket, okay? But like, they're older. So let me ask you a question. What's the probability that that lead source will continue to be plentiful as time progresses? Very high. So got access to the best coaches, the best trainers, the best mentors, the best coaches, and courses that could teach me where to get the data, how to get their phone numbers, what to say and how to say it. This lead source became 50% of my business. I went from 100 transactions to 200 transactions in a calendar year on this lead source alone. You can clap now. Yeah, that's good. So, and I believe that everybody in this room with the right skill set, the right mental maps, overcoming some internal beliefs that stop you from reaching out to this group, you can accomplish anything I've done, if not more. And the reason I know that, the same way I know the sky is blue and the grass is green, is because this guy's standing next to me. So I taught Heath everything I know about probate. I role played with him personally 3 days a week for 6 months as a part-time cop and a full part-time agent, full-time cop. He did 21 transactions in a calendar year. Most agents are full-time agents and don't do that many deals. And almost all of them were from probates and estates. He recently retired, now is listing 2 to 4 properties per month from this source. So I know it works, the same way I know the sky is blue and the grass is green. And our intention today is to equip you with what you need in order to make this source a meaningful source. Because let me ask you a question. If we go from 6 to 7 million transactions in a calendar year to 3.8 million, and if 90% of all homeowners who own a home have mortgages less than 6%, who's selling? Who? People that have to. Yes?
Yes.
Period, end of story. Whether it's financial hardship, Adelis works in that particular source, death, divorce, job relocation, right? And if we live in heaven's rating room, death would be the one to do. Yes or yes? Got it. Okay. So I've spent the last 17 years of my career. I sold over 2,000 properties, 80% of that business being listings sold, coaching company, 100 coaching clients, 12 of which make over $1 million a year. I own part of a Keller Williams office, sold it back, and in 2.5 years have grown the Elite Builders Nation into 364 agents in 15 states. That also deserves a clap, yes? So what we're going to do today is something that you guys are not used to. Because I know you guys go to events, you go to learning events, you hear a lot of wispy platitudes. You heard a lot of, you can do it. Most people teach mindset because they can't teach tactics. So what we're going to do today is tactical. Me and Heath are going to role play together this conversation. As we're role playing it, I'm going to stop and break down what's happening and what we're doing and why. So that way, when you leave here today, you can leave with something you can actually go into the marketplace and make money. Who's up for this AI? I'm sorry, I don't know if I drove all the way here for that level of energy. Who's up for this AI? Okay, good. I guess we can go ahead and begin that conversation.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you could stand up if you want. Yeah.
Sure.
So what we're going to do is from start to finish, role play the beginning of the conversation to setting the appointment. Now, I first want to address before we have this conversation an internal belief that ends up stopping people from calling this group. So what do you guys imagine is the internal belief that stops people from reaching out? Rejection. You're an ambulance chaser. Yes? Yeah, 100%. Why would I call these people? Somebody just died. That's terrible. Yeah? Okay, so go ahead.
I was going to say it's mindset. Like he's saying, it's an internal belief. Like I battled with this for a long time.
Because
I
despite,
struggled with it.
yeah, which was funny because despite the fact that he would bust down doors like this with like an AK-47, he would call me and be like, I don't know, bro. I don't know if we should call these people. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why are you scared here, but you're not scared there, right? So it's an internal belief. Now, what I can tell you from calling thousands of these individuals and listing hundreds of these properties is will there be 1 out of 1,000 that says, they're mad. Yes. Okay. It's life. Let me ask you a question. When you call expireds, are they mad sometimes? When you call FSBOs, do they get pissed off and call you names your mom didn't give you? Of course. So this is no different. Yes? 100%. Now, what I've also found is that the ones who, recognize that you're reaching out with the intention to be of service, and that has to be with the approach, are extremely appreciative. Because more often than not, they don't live here, right? Because mom and dad came to retire down in South Florida. And it's a very difficult time, right? From an emotional perspective. And number two, it's very overwhelming because there's a whole house full of contents and there's all of these practical components that they need to take care of, right? So really, whoever can solve the most problems and add the most value, they win, right? Everybody's so focused on getting the listing. Anybody can list the property, truthfully, if they have a real estate license. But if I can help you with the contents, if I can get them shipped back to your sister in Arizona, if I can help you to get it cleared out, right? If I can help you to order a dumpster and get rid of all the junk on the inside, if I can arrange for it to be prepared for sale in terms of painting and flooring, and I have an assistant who oversees that process for them, am I adding tremendous amounts of value? Who are they going to list with? Me. Does that make sense? Good. So as long as we address that internal issue, now the next step is where we have a conversation. So let's begin the conversation. I'll be kind of a seller.
Okay.
You'll begin with the opening, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop when he opens, and I'm going to break down what's happening. And this can be interactive. Okay. So I want you guys to be like, well, what if he says this? Because I know you love to do that. And when you do that, I'll answer it. Okay. Everybody good with this? Say yes. Yes. Okay, good. Go ahead.
Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, may I speak to Aaron?
You may. Yes, this is Aaron.
Hey, good morning, Aaron. My name's Heath. I received your information when my team pointed out that very shortly, if not already, you'll be appointed a representative of your family's estate. And the reason for my call, sir, is that I own a real estate business here in South Florida that specializes in the probate and trust process. And I know I might be premature in some way. I was just reaching out very respectfully just to see if you knew if the estate was planning on keeping the property or maybe leaning a little more towards selling it at some point in the future.
All right, pause, stop. Okay, good. Clap it up for Heath. Hey, because just so you know, if I was to ask any of you to do this, this would happen. Like you would get very uncomfortable very quickly, okay? So it's awesome that you're standing up and doing this.
Yeah.
And it demonstrates like professionalism. So what's happening here at the beginning? If you want to be perceived as a guide to help people to solve their problems, you have to deploy two things. Who wants to tell me what they are? Empathy is the first. Yes? What do we want to lead with? Don't you know who I am? I'm the #1 agent in my office that has one person. Yes? That's what we want to lead with. But instead, we should be leading with empathy. How did he lead with empathy in that opening? Yes, this requires you pay attention and speak back to me. How did he lead with empathy?
Too soon.
I may be a little premature in some way. I was calling very with regards to the real property. Empathy, yes? I have to lead with empathy. What's the second thing I have to deploy in order to be perceived as a guide? Value, I hear. What else?
Some sort of specialized knowledge.
Competency. Yes? I have to demonstrate that I know what I'm doing. How did he do that? What did he say? I own a company. Yes? Do all you guys own your own real estate business?
Yes.
You don't think about it that way because you don't present it that way. You're like, I work for A, B, C, Y, Z, Y, X. No, you don't. You work for yourself. Yes? Because just so you know, in other models, like in that model, if they sold their business, you would get nothing. So you don't work for them. Yeah?
Can I explain why I say that? Because a lot of people, when they call, they're like, hey, I'm Heath, real estate agent, right? Right away, so you say that, it triggers in their mind, they want to sell. You're right. We're not selling. But if you own a real estate business, you own a company, we have different options. We can do cash offers. We can help you lease. We can help you sell it down the road. So that you're not just tied into one thing. Now you can help them with multifaceted approach.
Yeah, love that. So we're deploying both of those things right out of the gate, right? Not like, hey, I heard Grandpa Jim died. Do you want to sell the house? That's pretty lame, right? You probably hang up on that person. Yeah. Instead, empathy and competency. Continue. Yeah. Oh, so you say that to me and I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know what we're going to do next, but I appreciate you calling.
Yeah. And again, I understand that it's definitely early in the process. And, you know, the reason for my call is I've helped a lot of families kind of navigate this process. And what I found out is that sometimes, you know, going into it and having these conversations that are forthcoming, it can be useful for them to have a clear, realistic picture and value. So in other words, and I know it's an if right now, because that decision has been made. But if you were to sell, what realistically in the current market and in its current condition could you guys expect to receive as far as proceeds, as well as the max amount that it could sell for? Now, again, I know that these conversations are forthcoming. Do you think that information would be at least helpful or useful to have on hand for you and the family?
Time out. So let's talk about what's happening there. So somebody says, I don't know what I'm going to do next, which is a frequent response. Yes. What are the potential responses that they can have? There's only three.
Yes, no, or maybe.
I know you know, bro.
Oh.
So what are the potential responses? We're going to keep it. We're going to sell. We're not sure. Yeah. Well, then I would dig. And we'll get to that. Right. So, well, I guess we can do it now. So if somebody says to me like, hey, we have a family member that's living in it, I appreciate that. It's not uncommon in these dynamics that there be a family member living in the house. I guess what I'm aware of is, and my intention in asking this is to be nosy, just to see if I can give you any more information that could be helpful or useful in some way. When a family member's living there, their desire to keep the home is oftentimes different than their financial ability to do so. So do you think that they have the financial means to actually buy you guys out, or is that not a realistic expectation? Yeah. What's the probability that anybody in the house can afford it? Yeah, you can look at him. That was good. What's the probability that anybody in the house can afford it? See, Adelis calls these people. You know what she was doing when I said this? She was going like this. You know why? Because I coached her for a while. So I'm digging.
And you could also dig a little bit more into that and say, hey, if you had it your way.
Yes.
What would you like to see happen with the property? So now you're getting, I want my brother to live there. I want him, because now you're feeling them out. And then you see where the personal representative stands.
That's perfect. So those are two different ways to get clarity. So yeah, I mean, it's clear to me that, there's somebody living there. And thank you for sharing that with me. Whenever they give you information, say thank you, because they don't have to. Yeah. Notice when I said my intention isn't to be nosy, why am I doing that? Because if anybody asks you a question, what do you feel like they're doing? Yes. And if I say my intention in asking it is to find out if I can give you any information that could be helpful or useful, who's that about? Yeah. Not me. Yeah. I'm making it clear that this is in your best interest, right? Does that answer your question? Yeah. So in that second piece, he's saying like, yeah, that's perfectly fine. My job is to help you. It's never to talk you into doing anything. Am I attached to this outcome, by the way? What do most agents do when they call? Oh, please. Let's. Yeah. In a personal context, if somebody really wants you to do something, what is your natural response? Hey, you went like this. No. And all your guys is the same. Yes. If somebody's like, oh, please, what do you like, bro? Get away from me. That's repulsive. Yeah. So by me saying, hey, whatever you decide to do, I'll support you 100%. My job's to help you. It's never to talk you into doing anything. The reason that I'm asking is because we do find that when families are having conversations with regards to what to do, that it can be very helpful or useful to get a clear, realistic picture of equity. That's a good word, right? And net bottom line, what the proceeds would be if, and I'm clear that that is an if you did decide to sell. Why am I saying it that way? Why did he say if, and I'm clear that that's an if? Why? When you feel the slightest bit of pressure, what do you do? Even though you're a salesperson, you run away. Yeah. Most of you guys will go into a shopping establishment with the intention to buy, and somebody walks up to you and like, hey, can I help you today? What do you say?
No, I'm just...
Nope, just looking. Meanwhile, you're there to spend money, yes? So you have to understand like how our psychology works so we can apply it in a way that increases the probability somebody's going to like respond to us. Yeah. So let's say he says that to me and he's like, I'm like, yeah, I guess that could be helpful. What I'm aware of though, Heath, is that, I've been online. I've looked at some of these sites that give estimates of value. So I think we're good.
Yeah, and I definitely understand. And these sites, they do offer some kind of perspective in regard to the value. However, when we take a closer look at the market, kind of a market snapshot, what I'll send over to you is a tighter, realistic range. So we can kind of compare apples to apples to see what's actually happening right now in that community. And I don't mind. It's something that I'll be able to send over to you in an email. And this, if that's useful to you. This leads me to my next question, and that's when I jump into the ancillary services.
Do it.
Okay. Leads me to my next question, Aaron. And again, I don't know if it's necessary in this specific set of circumstances, but sometimes families can use some extra help, either preparing a property to sell or to keep. as far as getting the contents cleared out, such as an estate sale for items inside that may have value, getting donations lined up and getting the property cleared out, or even maximizing the value by doing some light handyman work, cleaning, painting, just kind of preparing the property. And again, I don't know if that's useful, but do you think some of those services could be beneficial to you and the family moving forward?
Time out. What are we doing? You're doing it, Peter. You understand, yes?
Why EXP?
That man right there?
I chose Elite Builders because I started coaching with Aaron Novello in 2020.
Aaron Novello being the leader of Elite Builders. It's one of the reasons why I joined. We used to be in the same brokerage before EXP. So when he announced I was making the switch, I was like, okay, there must be something there.
The moment he told me he was switching, I didn't even flinch. For me, it was a no-brainer. We had already built this amazing relationship.
Once I saw the model and the platform, I really couldn't unsee it.
EXP gives us the opportunity of rev share, stocks, and it's not just all what I can sell.
All the coaching, the rev share, the stocks. I'm betting on EXP and cloud-based business. There's so many agents. It's like 2-3 million agents all over the US. I'm in part of an association that has more than 60,000 agents. Being able to join a team that brings productivity, experience to get myself to a highest level and leverage, that's exactly why I chose specifically Elite Builders.
I chose Elite Builders mainly because of the person that Aaron Novello is. Getting in proximity to him would put me in proximity with amazing people throughout my career. And that's no different when we stand around at EXP. The people that he's surrounded with are now the people that I'm surrounded with. They're just really good people.
This is exactly where I need to be. This is exactly who I want to follow, where I want to align myself with. Didn't even let the ink dry.
Before joining EXP, I was doing 50 transactions. In 2020, I did 48, 2021, 52, around there. Then when I joined EXP, I started coaching. I got to build systems that allow me to grow my business for more than 60 transactions. I opened different levels of business. I've grown a team of 35 agents. That's giving me a revenue share of anywhere between $2,000 to $2,500 per month. And I have around $22,000 worth of stock in the company. So I'm part owner of EXP Realty.
The value proposition is just there. The community, the skills, the weekly meetings, the accountability, the family we've built has been so amazing. And I'm just grateful for that opportunity.
Just a massive amount of being uncomfortable and learning, disconnect from like long-held beliefs that I had that weren't necessarily aligned with what I believe now or what I think is right and just or what I want to do with my life. So it's been a lot of being very, very uncomfortable, learning a lot. It's also been sort of extremely rewarding because I feel now that I am more authentically who I am. I'm more comfortable being the person that I truly wanted to be, but I really didn't even know that that person was in there. So it's been a lot of fun.
I was a quarterback in high school, but then after when I got out to varsity, the dude who was the starter, he went on to break Dante Culpepper's records. So he was like him. So I saw that. I'm like, nah, I probably should like do something else. You know what I'm saying? I think I have other skills and abilities. Yeah. Because you wrote a book, which is cool. Mm-hmm. What's like the vision? Like, are you more focused on like units and volume? Are you focused on attraction? Like, what's the?
Yeah, I'm right now. I'm definitely switching over to attraction.
Why?
Attraction, I think more so because of what I've gone through. I want to give it. I want to help others. You know what I mean? Succeed, which is the whole premise behind the book. But also, I spent way too much money on those one size fits all of those magic bullet crap that that plagues our industry. So I'm like, you know what? I want to help people understand that you are the magic. And so you'll read that a lot in the book. But really, I love selling real estate.
You do.
But
how long have you been selling real estate?
For only 4 years.
Okay.
But I actually I really like it. If there's a way that I can scale it to where I don't sell 20 houses a year, 20 plus houses a year to join my team, that's what I'm.
And what do you think the biggest challenges will be for you? Or what currently are the biggest challenges?
Currently? Yeah. Probably limiting beliefs by me.
And specifically, what are the limiting beliefs?
Right now, I think that there's not enough to eat. Our population isn't big enough to grow my team bigger.
Where you live?
Where I live.
How many people where you live?
There's only 100,000 people in my city.
Okay.
And that's the biggest city.
Yeah. So is that the limitation, or is it that not enough people know who you are?
Oh, absolutely. Not enough people know why.
Yeah. Yeah. So, because I remember hearing something that like really changed my thinking, which is that two things. One, known is better than best. The second is if you don't know me, you can't flow me.
Yeah.
So if you don't know who I am, I can't really help you. So what I find is most people like yourself, the issue isn't talent or ability, it's obscurity. People just don't know.
Right.
So then what would be a mechanism to help people to know? One is a book, because I see that as a platform. The problem with books, though, is I have to distribute them. So I could write one, but like how many, I got to get it in people's hands.
Right.
So the question is like, what tools or what resources do you have at your disposal, or what skill would you have to learn to make sure that more people know who you are?
Actually, social media, community events.
Yeah. And is there any limiting beliefs around doing those, or no? Are you doing media?
I am. I'd say not to the level that I want to be.
How many times a day? What platforms?
Posting at least one reel or a static picture a day, but very active in stories.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I have a second account that's called Devontae in the PNW, and I go around to like small mom and pops, give shout outs and like tell people, hey, you got to come here and try, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
That's taken off a little bit in my
And is that on Instagram? Is that on YouTube?
Instagram, but it's bigger on TikTok.
Okay.
So TikTok really likes that.
So a lot of your stuff is short form then?
Yeah.
All right. And any reason you're not doing long form like YouTube?
No, I'm on it.
Yeah. So I think the thing to consider, I heard a quote too that really changed my thinking about this is if you're not a good marketer, you have to become a rock star salesperson. That's a bar. And it's true.
Yeah.
And I'm a recovering rock star salesperson. So I prospected 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. I did 100 deals a year, 10 years in a row, 200 deals a year twice, all just banging. The issue with that is I have to be there. It doesn't scale.
Right.
And 3 years ago, I started to like examine that and say, hey, I want to have a bigger impact, but I want more time, truthfully. It's selfish. My kids are 14 and 11, and I was just missing out on stuff. So I looked at the landscape. I said, what vehicles do I have at my disposal? What resources do I have at my disposal? And I looked at media, and I realized something that like, I don't really understand this. Not the way I know how to sell real estate in high volume. So what I did is I sought out a guide. Do you know who Ryan Pineda is?
Yeah.
Reached out to a buddy of mine who's in a mastermind with him. And I was like, yo, who's the best at media? He's like, there's a bunch of people who have courses and stuff. Nobody makes more money than Ryan. He has 6 businesses, do $1 million a month. His primary client acquisition channel is media. So I reached out to him. I paid him $25,000 to teach me. I would be on calls with him and he was teaching me, but then I could also be on calls with his content creators and my content creators. So we sucked everything out of their heads. But that caused me to go from 2,000 on Instagram to 60,000. It caused me to go from nothing on YouTube to this year in the last 365 days, 2 million views. So if I could give you anything that could be helpful is media, it's volume and frequency, because frequency equals familiarity, and static things are like not that helpful. Video's really where it's at. According to Google, people touch their phones 150 times a day. Check a text message, phone call, calendar. About an hour or two is on platforms. So what would increase the probability that you would see me during that hour or two? Frequency.
Yeah.
So I'm 3 to 4 times a day, 7 days a week. Short form. Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. 5 times a week long form on YouTube. Long form's like an hour. But the way we're getting to that is just documenting what we're doing.
Right.
So like, my videographer's here. We'll take all, like I gave a talk yesterday, a breakout session on media. We'll take that whole thing, put it on YouTube, but then we'll chop it up into shorts, snippets, right? So what I would suggest to you is that I don't think your town's too small. That's a limiting belief. Something to consider is that companies like UFit, those gyms, it's like $10 a month. They need 10,000 people to be profitable. They do that in towns of 50,000.
There's that.
So it's not too small.
Right. Yeah.
The issue is like not enough people know who you are. And the primary mechanism for them to know is where all the attention's at is there. So I think if you are serious about growing, your issue is obscurity. I need to get real serious about media and not dabble. Most people, they dabble.
Yeah.
They're not like, I tell our team all the time, like, I don't play to participate. I play to dominate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We didn't come here just to mess around.
Right.
Like my first goal with Attraction was 1,000. But my goal dictates my action. So if I have a goal to get to 50, that's a different action if the goal is to get to 1,000.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you already did the hard part. Like writing a book's difficult. But now it's just about distributing it.
I'm awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
That's dope. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, man.
65% of Americans have all their money tied up into their house. They're refreshing their Redfin every goddamn day. But you think you know better than them. So you go in there and try to authoritatively tell them, this is what it is. And if they don't like it, what do? See you later. All right, team. Appreciate you guys coming out today. It's only the dedicated that wake up early to have a business meeting and perhaps do a little bit of prospecting. Thank you for some new faces that are in the room. Appreciate you guys being here. So 70 to 80% of agents within their first year of getting their real estate license are out of the business. That is a statistical fact. Why is that?
They think it's easy and then they find out it's hard.
They think it's easy?
Well, they don't really. I mean, you're literally starting your own business from scratch. I mean, even though you've got a license and you choose a brokerage, I mean, essentially you're set out to the world, as I would imagine. Right?
That's right. Yep, 100%.
Tools, but
exactly. So brand new, perhaps.
They don't realize it is running business.
Lack of business experience. Yeah. What else?
Over expectations.
Over expectations. They've seen people on Instagram or $1 million real estate agent. They think they're gonna make $1 million bucks. Yeah. What else? All of those things? Yeah. Okay. So in my professional experience, my first calendar year selling real estate, I made 13,000 bucks. Yay. Nobody will like put you on a podcast to find out how you made below the poverty line. Okay. Nobody's going to pay you to coach them and teach them precisely how you do that. Why though? How do you go from doing $13,000 in a calendar year to a decade later grossing 7 figures in the same business? How do you do that? Well, the first thing you need is an accurate assessment of reality. So anybody know who Ray Dalio is? Okay, some people know. He's one of the richest guys on the planet. He founded the largest hedge fund in the world in his garage. Okay, he wrote a book called Principles. And in that book, it's one of the best books I've ever read, highly recommend it, particularly the first part. Second part is on management. First part is about how to make decisions. But he said you need an accurate assessment of reality in order to produce a good outcome. Now, when he first said that, I thought that was cute. Oh, that's clever, right? But the more I started to really think about that and marinate on it, I was like, wow, that's profoundly true. I have to see what is, not the way somebody, perhaps wants me to believe that it is, or maybe the way I think it is, but the way it actually is. Let's give an example. So in nature, if you go with what is, you get rewarded. If you go against what is, you get punished. What do I mean? So if I was to go, and let's say it was negative 30 degrees out, and I'm like, hey, we're going to go jump in that water and swim for 2 hours, we could be out there and be like, I am warm, I am warm, I am warm, and affirmations, and what's going to happen? We're going to die of hypothermia. That's what's going to happen. Yes? Like people are like, oh, like gravity's not real. Go test it out. Jump off a cliff, see how that works. If you go against what's true, you get punished. If you go with what's true, you get rewarded. Yeah? So I had people that were telling me things like, yeah, like wear my name tag and go to the grocery store and smile at people like this. Right? They would tell me to farm a geographic area. I'm like, I'm not in the agriculture business, guys. Right? Yeah? And for that reason, I had poor data and it was producing what? Poor results. Yes. So here's what I would suggest and humbly propose to those in this room. If you're not producing the outcomes that you want, you must have poor data. Yes? Yes, that is accurate. Now, we don't like that sometimes because we think we're quicker, faster, cooler, smarter than we would, than we actually are. So I had poor data. And then for me, though, I mean, the fact that you're here at 7:30 in the morning indicates that you want to be good at this. You know what I mean? Like you want to be successful at this. And I was of the same ilk. So what I did is I sought out a guide, somebody who could give me better data. Yeah? And this guide started to tell me what was worth stacking time on top of. If you're smart, hardworking, and ambitious, you know what one of the hardest things is? You see money everywhere. But you have to decide what's worth, and 65% of us come from families that live paycheck to paycheck. So when I see money everywhere, what do you want to do? Grab it. Challenge is sometimes that money is not worth grabbing. Yes? You have to decide what's worth stacking time on top of. I believe the reason why 80% of agents, 70 to 80% of agents within the first calendar year are not selling real estate anymore is because they have poor data and they don't know what's worth stacking time on top of. Does that make sense? So I got that accurate assessment of what this business actually is, which is a sales business, no different than selling books door to door, knives door to door, subscriptions over the phone. Anybody besides me ever sold something like other than real estate? Yeah, what'd you sell? Software, cool. And in that software business, the reality was each and every day you had to do what? I'm sorry? Isn't that a beautiful, very euphemistic word for prospect? We don't want to say that shit, right? We're like, it's like prospecting is a dirty, nasty word. But we call it what? I'm doing outreach. Yes? How frequently did you have to do that?
Every day.
Every day. And if you didn't do it, what would happen?
We wouldn't get the result.
And if you didn't get the results, what would happen?
You're fired.
You'd be fired.
You didn't make any money.
Yes? See, that's what we call reality. Yes? But agents get in, nobody tells them what reality is, and they futz around for 6 months. Think about this. There are people that actually tell agents, hey, guess what? Do you have enough money for the next 6 months? Why is that? Because you're probably not going to sell anything for that time frame. Is that insane? That's absolutely crazy. Yeah? That's why that happens. That's why the attrition rate is massive. That's why, guys, does anybody know what the average agent sells all year long in the country on average? How many units? Yeah, 4. The average agent in the United States makes $72,000 a year. A manager at Taco Bell makes 70. Those are called the facts. It's the way it is. That's reality, yeah? But we don't like to talk about it. Everybody's on Instagram like, here's my one sale. But the reason is they have an inaccurate assessment of reality. You just said something is really interesting. I have to do outreach every day. Guess what? Let's make some leaps in logic. If that's what's true in the software business, and he's selling something, there's gravity. There's certain things like gravity in business. So the landscape might change, but gravity never changes. Yeah? So there may be different ways for me to do outreach, but the gravity is I have to do what every day? Prospect. Yeah? So if that's what's true in the software business, what would that mean for this business if we're selling something? Oh, I'm sorry, what? Same thing. Yes? Period. So I find a lot of agents like really try to figure out ways to not have to do that. And then they're constantly and perpetually crying about not having any money. Do you see how they're not going with what's true? And when you don't go with what's true, what happens? You get punished. Does that make sense? But then what do we want to do? We want to look outside and blame other people, blame the economy, blame interest rates, blame the administration. I sold 100 homes a year for 10 years in a row. Different administrations, different marketplaces. I did 200 transactions twice. Once I hit 100 transactions, I never did less than that. You know what I did every single day? 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. Who wants to tell me? Right. Oh my God. Call that magic. Yeah. People really think it's magic. People think somebody came up to me and went like this with like magical sales fairy dust, went like, sprinkle, sprinkle. No, that's not what happened. Every day, 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. Also, I'm curious, in software, did you guys have to role play? Oh my God, how often? Every day. Why were you guys role playing? I'm curious.
I mean, so you wouldn't stumble as much on the phone.
Exactly, and why is that important?
I mean, you're giving the best impression to the deal.
That's right, and I'm curious, do the prospects usually say the same stuff all the time? They do. So what would they say in software? I'm curious, what would be their objections all the time?
Like we're good now, we're with another company.
It's not in our budget.
Not in our budget.
Yeah.
We're gonna wait till next quarter.
Good. And whoever's been selling real estate, you've been selling real estate for a long time. You're one of the top agents in this geographic area. You used to own part of Keller Williams' office.
You partnered with us. We're super excited that you did. Way to go. That's what I'm talking about. So you've been selling real estate for a long time. What are the common things buyers and sellers say to you all the time?
A lot of times, same thing. It's well, not right now. It's I'm waiting for the rates to come down.
Oh, that sounds a little bit similar to him. What else?
Let me talk to my wife.
Oh, let me talk to the person who holds your budget. Okay, what else?
I'm gonna wait till after the holidays.
I'm gonna wait till after the holidays. Yeah. Let's finish up this quarter, and I'll get back to you at the next quarter. Yes. What else?
I'm good. I'm just gonna do it on my own.
I'm gonna do it on my own. We think we can do it on our own. Hey, not only that, you cost too much.
Commissions.
Did you hear that all the time? Guys, are you noticing a pattern? Look, if you're gonna sell something, you might as well sell something that's expensive. Yeah? And the objections are gonna be the same. So here's what's fascinating. What percentage of agents do you think role play every day? Like 1%. And yet they continue to cry that they don't have any. It's crazy. They're going against what's true. Yeah? They're going against reality, and then they're getting punished. So cool. So we're starting to deduce some truth. One is, if I'm going to be in this business, to the day I get in, to the day I get out, I will have to do what every day? Just erase it out of your brain that that's not something that you're ever going to have to stop doing. Get it out of your head. Do you know how much internal energy, time, resources, like emotional, spiritual energy people put into hoping and wishing and praying they won't have to do that anymore? It's ridiculous. If they would just channel that energy into what? Doing it. Their lives would be completely different. The second thing we're deducing is, if I actually want to get good at this, it requires that every day. Okay, there's no security in this business. There's only opportunities. I had a sales job. I'm dating myself, in Plantation. There used to be a Circuit City there. They went out of business. Amazon put them out of business. So anyway, it was a great sales job because they taught us, we would sell like those extra warranties, when you're at Best Buy, right? But we got commission, and it was commission on a draw. So you would sell products. If you didn't hit your product, if you weren't selling anything, they gave you $2 an hour. We called it the subsidy train. So be like, yo, you on that subsidy train? You know what I mean? That doesn't exist in real estate, does it? If you do nothing, what happens? You starve to death. That's what happens. Yeah? So I realized, the money's not in the service, the money's in the selling of the service. What does that mean? Well, do we all have a real estate license? Can we all perform the same service? Do we all make the same amount of money? Why? Some people know how to sell a service better than others. Because they do what all the time? Oh my God, you guys are getting this. Do you see? How interesting. Because they practice all the time. So in terms of what's worth stacking time on top of? Yeah? If the money's not in the service and the selling of the service, it would make sense that I spend all of my time, particularly when I'm new, learning how to sell a service. Specifically in that space, in the context of that conversation. Because I might have experience selling other things, but this is a specific conversation. Does that make sense? So when I realized this, that the money wasn't in the services and the selling of the service, I started a role play twice a day, 6 days a week. I did that for 3 years in a row. Why? Because I never want to have to look at my wife, Carla, and say, hey, we can't send the kids to private school because they told me they were going to think about it. And I said, okie dokie, and I left, and they listed with somebody else. How many people besides me thought that, oh, we're cool. We have really good rapport. They had a dog, I had a dog. They went to UF, I went to UF. And then you get the call, hey, we listed with Tom. In your heart, who is the reason why that happened? Because you didn't know what to say. I never want to have to look at Carla and be like, hey, we can't take that trip to Europe because they said that my commission was too high. I verbally vomited and they listed with somebody else. Yeah? So these common denominators that are clear, like gravity, if I'm going to be in this business, I got to prospect every day. Every day. A day not spent, listen, burn this into your brain. A day not spent prospecting is a day spent not in business. I don't care what you're doing. I don't know why anybody meets videographers or photographers at properties. You're not a professional photographer. Why are you there? There's no reason for me there. He knows what he's doing. I don't need to be there. 2 hours of time spent doing what? Nothing. Yeah? Do you know the office that I left had 130 agents? Well, there were only 9 that made more than $100,000 a year.
Where was the last place you said?
Only 9 made more than $100,000 a year out of 130. That is what it is. Every office I could walk into, it's exactly what it is. Anywhere. Why?
Wrong data.
Wrong data and going against reality. This isn't magic, right? So, with that being the case, the intention today is to do a little bit of the prospecting. Yeah? Now that could be, and there's only 4 ways to grow a business. Only 4. And everybody teaches them. Tony Robbins teaches them, Myron Golden teaches it. Doesn't matter who it is. They all teach the same ways. Who wants to tell me what the 4 ways to grow a business is? They're like gravity. They never change.
Getting more leads.
More leads. Okay. What's the second one? Better conversion. Because you could have all leads in the world, and if you don't know what to, then how good are they? Not at all.
I really like Aaron's brain. Like, he just speaks the way I need to hear it. I really love his delivery style. He is wicked smart. He's also very successful with that knowledge that he put to use, right? Personally sold over 2,000 transactions to date. He's the coach to some of the biggest top producers in United States and Canada in real estate. Built a downliner organization at EXP with hundreds of agents. I did have to switch my spot because he did get invited to go on a yacht with Grant Cardone.
I got invited to be on the Grant Cardone celebrity cruise that was in the Bahamas.
So he's like, go, I have to go. I'm like, okay, I'll switch my day with you so we can still have you. I think you do an amazing job, Aaron, at the whole life and soul searching and mindset thing. So at this moment, I will shut up and give you the floor.
All right, awesome. Well, I appreciate you doing so. So I want to ask you guys a question, and I want you guys to drop in the chat your answer. There's no golden star here, so whatever you say is just fine. Which year do you think was a better year to sell real estate? Was it 2024, the year that we're concluding? Or was it 2008, during the great financial kind of collapse, where 50% of everything on the market was a short sale or foreclosure, prices are going down 20, 30%? Drop in the chat, which year do you think was a better year to sell real estate? Whatever you say is just fine. 2024, 2008, 2022, 2008, 2024. So this is awesome, right? So we have a mixture, yes, of what we believe to be a better year to sell real estate. Well, statistically, we are on track to do less transactions in 2024 than we did in 2008. So the fact is, Narmeen, hopefully I'm saying that right, is that we are in a real estate transaction recession. Yeah. If you made it through this year, give yourself some claps, because you made it through the toughest time to sell real estate in 15 years. Why is that something to like reflect on? Because, I have the good fortune of speaking to agents across the country. 12 of the one-on-one coaching clients I coach do over $1 million in GCI. And there's 2 camps. One camp, which is a very small camp, are having a very strong year. The vast majority of everybody else is in a season of disappointment. Yeah, notice the energy in the room? This is going to be like super motivating. Yeah. Well, what's interesting about a season of disappointment is that it's very instructive and helpful. And here's why. So whether somebody has faith or not, I think it's very interesting. There's some really good stories, right, that we can learn from. And what you find is that, in the Bible, there's a lot of people that are chosen or appointed or anointed in some way. There's usually an anointing and there's an appointing, but in the middle, there's a season of disappointment. That's interesting. Why does that pattern persist, Lisa? Why is somebody anointed to do something and then they go through years of disappointment before they actually get to the appointment? A good example of this is Joseph. So Joseph is his father's favorite. Anybody have any siblings besides me? Yeah. If one of your siblings is the favorite, does that irk you a little bit? Look at all the ones. Yeah, man. Right? 100%. So his siblings felt the same way, yes? A little irked by the fact that his dad liked him the most. Yeah? So you know what they came up with? This brilliant idea, Sherry. They were out working one day and they said, you know what? We're just going to put him in a ditch and leave him to die because we're tired of him getting all of the praise. Yes? So they do that. And then you know what they do, Christy? They're like, well, you know what? We could actually get some money for this guy. So why are we going to let him die? Let's just sell him into bondage. And they do that and they sell him into bondage. Well, here's what's interesting about Joseph. He's diligent. He's also really smart. So while he's in bondage, he actually rises to be like the top and he's like running stuff. He's also very handsome. So he's smart and handsome. So you know what happens? The queen wants a piece. She makes a pass at him. He's a righteous man. So Chris, he says, no, thank you. The queen is prideful. Feelings are hurt. So you know what she does? She says that he tried to take advantage of her. King gets wind of this, and where does Joseph end up? In jail. For something he did not do. Yes? Now, what ends up happening is he's also, again, diligent. He's smart. He ends up running the whole jail. Yeah. And there's somebody that he makes friends with in jail, and he gets out, and he's like, hey, remember me when you get out. Does he remember him? No. And he stays there. Yes? But then the king, years later, yes? Years later, he has a problem. He has this dream and he can't interpret it. And he goes to all of his, people in his court. Can you interpret this? All of his wizards and his, people. And none of them can interpret it. But the guy remembers, oh yeah, there was this guy Joseph and he can interpret dreams. King brings him in front of him. Joseph interprets his dream. And do you know what the king does? He takes off his ring, puts it on his hand, gives him his cloak and says, go rule Egypt. So he went from being sold into slavery, being in jail for something he didn't do, to ruling. Yeah? So why is that applicable right now? Because in a season of disappointment, one of my seasons of disappointment came in 2007. So my first year selling real estate, I made a whopping $13,000, guys. Anybody know what that's like? Yeah. Will anybody put you on a panel, Tony, to talk about specifically how you did that? Will people pay you to coach them, Christy, and say, hey, how exactly did you make below the poverty line? How did you do that? The reason was I didn't have access to the right information. People were telling me to put my name tag on my shirt and go smile at people at the grocery store. Yeah? They would tell me to sit in open houses and wait for people to show up, Renee. They started telling me to farm, Tony. I'm like, I'm not in the agriculture business. What are we talking about here? Okay. So I didn't make any money. But then I did what I've done and many of you have done in this call is I got access to a guide. Somebody who could give me access to the truth, yes? Which is that this is a sales business. No different than selling books door to door, knives door to door, subscriptions over the phone. And they told me what I should be stacking time on top of. And then, miraculously, that next year, the first 3 months, I did 15 transactions on track to do 60 deals. That's better, yes? While I'm sitting in a room like this, I'm prospecting, making outbound calls. I get a phone call in April of 2007. Anybody besides me ever know something's wrong before you actually know it's wrong? Where do you feel that? I felt it in my stomach, yeah? Because I look down and it's my dad calling me. Now, it's not weird that my dad be calling me. It's weird that he'd be calling me at 8:30 in the morning because we don't normally talk at that time. So I did what I usually never do is I stopped prospecting and I picked up the phone and the voice on the other end of the phone, guys, confirmed that feeling that I felt in my stomach because he was kind of hyperventilating. And what he was able to eke out was that my mom had just had a brain bleed. She was being rushed into emergency surgery, a craniectomy. And he's like, yeah, there's a 50-50 shot she's going to make it. So whatever you're doing right now, I suggest that you stop and come home right now. So what I did is within a week, I shut down my entire business in Gainesville, Florida, gave away all the listings, all the pendings, and I moved back home. Started over from scratch. And then do you know what happened? The 2008 financial collapse. Yeah! That's fantastic, right? Not really what I was expecting getting into this real estate thing. Yes? Massive, kind of season of disappointment. So I had to start over from scratch, right? And my experience has been, guys, is that it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to what happens to you that defines you. I pick them up. So some of the questions you ask when you pick them up is, how was your day? What'd you guys eat? It's normal, right? What'd you guys do for dinner? He's like, oh, we went out for dinner. I'm like, well, where'd you guys go? He's like, they took us to Hooters. This comes out of my son's mouth. I never grew up with faith, but he's seen my kind of walk and he's seen changes in me. So what he says in me is like, it was really weird.